heart to care. Goodbye, whiskey, you used to make me frisky. So long, highball, so long, gin. Oh, tell me when you're coming back again. Blues, I've got the blues since the amputated my blues. Lordy, Lordy, war is well. You know, I don't have to tell. Oh, I've got the alcoholic blues, some blues. Prohibition, that's the name. Prohibition drives me insane. I'm so thirsty, soon I'll die. I simply grind, evaporate, I scarce that dry. I wouldn't mind to live forever in a train if my thirst had only let me quench, and not with Bevo or ginger ale. I want real stuff by the pail.
You're very exceptionary. No dictionary can define what's genuinely indescribable. Very exceptionary. No ordinary phrase can capture you. Now some might say that you're tremendous. You are so much more stupendous, so magnificent, so magnanimous. If we voted, it'd be unanimous. Very exceptionary. This temporary phrase we'll have to do. It's true for my very exceptionary you. Exceptionary. No dictionary can define what's genuinely indescribable. Very exceptionary. No ordinary phrase can capture you. Now some might say that you're tremendous. You are so much more stupendous, so magnificent, so magnanimous. If we voted, it'd be unanimous. Very
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Go Back to Sleep with your host, the bartender. Before we go there, let me take you guys to the clouds real quick. There we go. Finally, something is going right today. All right, so tonight's random read comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verses 15 through 23. Drink from your own well. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of our Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. Once again, this random read comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verses 15 through 23. Drink from your own well. I really like that, man. I really like that because it really stands for the things that I definitely believe, especially with this stuff that's going on around the world right now. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce my co-host of the show, Java. Are you there, my friend?
What's going on? That is a really good section of verses right there.
Yes, it is. We talk, and with the guys that I talk to, you and Mr. C, outside of the show, you guys know where I stand on this whole thing, man. And this right here was a good reflection about things that I see. So that's why I was like, man, God's really talking to me again. So that was cool. Anyhow.
Yeah, especially for just pulling that one.
Yeah, well, all my reads are just random, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what I do. Every day, I just ask the Lord to kind of speak to me, and I open the book randomly, and wherever my index finger points to, that's the message of the day. And sometimes it's mind blowing. Sometimes I don't understand. But sometimes maybe the message is not meant for me. Maybe it's meant for somebody else, because I always share these random reads on my social media in hopes that somebody out there could get a message from it too. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Nice. That's awesome. Yep. That was a good one.
So before we get started and everything, I want to know, we were talking a little bit before the show started, and I wanted to ask you how your birthday went. And of course you were telling me that you spent most of your day hanging out with Foxhole family.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a blast yesterday. I was calculating out the hours and stuff, and I think total I was streaming for like 10 hours yesterday.
Dang, dude.
Crazy.
Did you happen to sleep on a stream too?
No, I don't. I did not.
I'm just joking. Yeah, because there's some. I'm not.
I almost wanted to. No,
I'm not saying people on Foxhole, but I'm just saying that streamers out on other platforms like Twitch, they stream themselves sleeping, and people actually watch that stuff.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, dude. It's crazy.
It's creepy. I don't want anyone seeing me sleep.
Well, I don't. Go ahead.
It's like people that collect random samples of hair that they find. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone watching me sleep.
Well,
But
I think it's more creepier for the person who's streaming themselves.
right, that's true.
Yeah. I think we've had this discussion about how technology has kind of changed everybody, especially the youth, on how life is. A- and it's kind of hard to equate that with how real life is, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely,
Yeah.
and it actually affects real life by, I don't know. I think it can the frequencies of the technology can um change our brain.
Oh, the rewiring? Oh, I definitely believe that. A lot of the I wouldn't say all, but I think a lot of youth have problems socializing in real life.
Yeah.
Having to talk, having to be somewhat articulate about what they're trying to explain, or even understanding like certain things, like simple things.
Right, like picking up on body language.
Oh
Body
yeah, yeah,
language
that's a big thing right
and
there.
all that
Yeah.
is missed if you're looking at someone talking through text.
Mm-hmm. Or
Miss all those nonverbal cues.
right. Absolutely. And also through even via video, you don't get a full spectrum of everything, because
Right.
sometimes with body language there's subtleties in what people can do, you know? And if you don't pick up on it, you don't really grasp the understanding of what people are communicating to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, let's see who's up in the chats here. Leah Worth, good evening. Nice to see you here. Fact Finder, nice to see you. Leah Worth was saying, can we not have Bible study in the bar though? It's not study. It was just a little random read. It's something that I do all the time. But it's funny you mention what do you call it? Monkey shoulder, the scotch. You know, because it's been cold here in Texas lately. Even inside my house, it's cold. I'm wearing a shirt and a sweater and socks. I usually don't do that, but it's freaking cold in here. That I made myself a hot toddy today.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't usually drink much, but man, it's cold. And a hot toddy, it's kind of diluted with water and sugar, so I'm not downing these drinks. I'm just sipping it and sipping slowly, trying to stay warm. Is it cold where you're at?
Heck yeah, it's cold cold in my house too.
I was in the sticks last night, man. There was hail. Did I tell you that? It was
No, there was hail.
It was hailing a little bit. Yeah, there was hail, and it was a wedding, and we had to do the ceremony outside. And I told you that before the show, but man, there was hail. There was a bit of rain. It stopped for a while, and then we did the ceremony, and then we went back in, and then we went to wherever the reception was going to be. But yeah, when it was hailing, I was like, oh man, please, let's not do this outside, please.
And they're like, yeah, we're going to do it right out, straight in the open.
Yeah. But we got it done. That's all that matters. And it was a pretty good time. It was funny because the person who was coordinating the person who was coordinating her wedding was her friend. And as soon as we did the whole first dance and all that jazz, first dance, bouquet toss, all that stuff, I played a little bit of country music, a little bit of two-step music for the older folks. I was already planning because I saw the crowd was a little bit older with cowboy hats, so I said, I told my daughter, okay, we're gonna start off with some country music, some two-step country music, and we did. And then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes later, her best friend says, hey, can you play some booty music now?
What?
I'm like, okay. So yeah, we were playing booty music for a good amount of time.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. But anyhow, all right. So let me go ahead and play the intro for tonight's show. And then after that, we'll get into it. This is going to be a very interesting. I try to find some stuff about the particular song that you have. Instead, I mean, I did find something, but it's not of the song. But we'll share that after we do the whole song first. But the group that you picked, man, another interesting one. All right, so without further ado, if I can have you go on mute there for a minute, Java, we're going to go ahead and play the intro for this tonight's show, and we'll see you back here in a minute.
I've been having these thoughts, and we're just waiting in line to wake up.
Everything that you hoped for, what you dreamed about being a part of, is a fabrication. Your art. Your culture is the shell of other men's ambitions, ambitions beyond what you will ever understand.
Man, the video was off, wasn't it? Java, you there?
Seemed like it flowed together fine.
Yeah, it was kind of a delay on my end. This OBS program has been really bugging.
Ever since that update?
Well, I think there's another update for the iOS for Mac. So I haven't updated it because if I update the Mac, which is a different iOS system, this OBS, like every program that I have here might not be compatible with that, and it's gonna mess everything up. It's just been a whole mess, man. This whole with Apple messing things up. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yep. Gotta watch those apples.
Yeah. Yeah. So let us know who are we digging into today?
So tonight's song is called Have a Cigar, and it is by Pink Floyd. And this song I felt was appropriate because of, in light of every song that we've covered so far and what we've been talking about with the record industry and Luciferianism and all that stuff, and how the industry lures people in and they have to cross certain lines to achieve success.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole alluring. It's like, it's like the temptation in the desert kind of thing.
it,
And
it's funny because it seems like so far every artist that I wouldn't say every artist that we covered, but that seems to be the what's the word I'm like the MO, is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
That seems to be the MO of all these artists, and the things that they talk about is the
Yeah.
alluring of their careers. And it gets to a point where like you can go further, but will you
But
go
you have
further?
to,
You know what I mean?
right, you have to compromise like the one last week. It really was laid bare how it was their soul that was being sought after by the people that run the industry, and also by, you know, Satan,
Yeah. I mean,
who's
ultimately,
working
right?
through, who's working through the industry people, pretty much. Because I mean, that's what their religion is about anyway. They're like, they worship Baphomet and Satan and all that stuff. Like,
Well, they're a lot of them, maybe all of them.
not everybody, but at a certain point. Because so, if y'all didn't see it last week, we were talking about Elton John.
No, that wasn't LT. That was the week before last week. Last
Oh.
week was Hall and Oates.
Oh yeah, Hall and Oates.
Yeah.
That's right. Both of them.
Yeah, both
were
of yeah.
Satanism.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Daryl Hall, he admitted it, and we saw the second video, right? I mean,
yeah.
we saw
Exactly.
this. I mean, that was pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious, and this is when they were. This is in their earlier years. This is not in the 80s. This was in the late 70s. So, yeah. Even with the Elton John one, that song right there was very telling. It was very blatant. You know.
Right. And nowadays they're getting even super duper blatant.
Yes. And it's funny because I think the reason why they're getting really blatant is because they just can't hide it anymore. On top of the fact that the devil's running out of time, I think they just can't hide it anymore, you know? Yeah, I mean that's what I think. You just can't. You know,
Yeah.
at this point people are either going to accept that or they're not going to accept it.
And it's like they're going for broke with trying to convince the youth to accept it on a wide scale.
Well, you're right. But I do think I don't know. I'm not going to say that the majority of them are already lost, but let's just say that a lot of them are lost. You know, especially with the whole movement that I've been noticing with the whole Travis Scott thing, and you know the rap music that these children are into. It's like a combination of like rap and rock. You know how back in the 90s when they had the second Woodstock, when everybody was going crazy. It's kind of like that, you know, kind of ragey, but with rap music. So I don't know. I'm hoping that a lot of the youth are not lost, but I think a good majority of them are lost. And you know, shows like this, hopefully they find, and we can reel them back. We can reel them back in to sanity, but we'll see.
And Leah Worth here, yes. Yeah, we talked about that before, about Satan being the greatest musician and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Not saying that all music is that way, but that's like a very easy way for those purposes to come across to people, and to stoke the musician's ego and everything, and use that to, it's like a gateway into all kinds of interesting things. And this band, Pink Floyd, is an interesting one because you could tell that, you know, they rose pretty far.
Yeah,
In their
I think
career and
they
stuff.
still do concerts, don't they?
Yeah,
Dude.
I believe so. Not all the original people, but
No, but the band Pink Floyd has stood out for a long time.
Yep.
A long time.
And they have a lot of cool music and stuff.
They sound
And
cool. I'll give them that.
but
They sound cool.
but yeah, so this song is very, because you can take it when we go into the words and stuff. It's like it could be taken on this one level of being the recording studio record label level, talking to them, but you can also look even deeper as something else asking these questions and saying this to them.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna mention something. I totally forgot. I hate when that happens. It'll come back to me later on. But was it about Pink Floyd? I think it was about Pink Floyd. Forget it. Never mind. I just hate when that happens, man.
And it makes you wonder what kinds of things that they saw and experienced.
I think the drug use too may have kind of opened that up as well.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
I think so. I'm led to believe that using hallucinogens or using any kind of drugs for that matter, whether whether it be quote unquote natural or synthetic, anything that alters your mind opens you up to the spirit world. I'm a very firm believer in that. And when you open yourself up like that, you're vulnerable to attacks, and you don't know what kind of spirits you're inviting in. And most of the time it's the bad ones that come in because they're the ones who are taking advantage of you, good spirits would usually come to you when you're sober, and uplift you. The Holy Spirit, right? It'll uplift you and all that stuff. But, with these demonic spirits, they take you in paths where you may think it's cool, but no, it's not. It's not. In the end, it ruins you. Just put it that way. Anyhow, shouts out to Bardra on the Twitch end. Thank you for coming by. Thank you so much. He's saying that I think it's also part of the Hegelian dialectic to expose how dark the left-hand path is, then usher in the false light of the right-hand path of Luciferianism. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I totally I agree with that statement. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do a little history or a little biography on Pink Floyd. We'll take turns on the what you call it, on the read here.
On the paragraphs.
All right. So this one comes from allmusic.com. Biography about Pink Floyd is by Stephen Thomas Erlewine. Some bands turn into shorthand for a certain sound or style, and Pink Floyd belongs among that elite group. The very name connotes something specific, an elastic, echoing, mind-bending sound that evokes the chasm of space. Pink Floyd grounded that limitless sound with exacting explorations of mundane matters of ego, mind, memory, and heart, touching upon madness, alienation, narcissism, and society on their concept albums of the 1970s. Of these concept records, Dark Side of the Moon resonated strongest, earning new audiences year after year, decade after decade, and its longevity makes sense. That 1973 album distilled the wild psychedelia of the early years, that brief, heady period when they were fronted by Syd Barrett, into a slow, sculpted, widescreen epic mastermind by Roger Waters, the bassist who was the band's de facto leader in the 70s. Waters fueled Pink Floyd's golden years, conceiving such epics as Wish You Were Here. You know, I have to admit, I really like that song. The
Yeah,
Wall.
that album was great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the album with the burning guy. Yeah. But the band survived his departure in the 80s, with guitarist David Gilmour stepping to the forefront on a monetary lapse of Reason and the Division Bell. Throughout the years, drummer Nick Mason and keyboardist Rick Wright appeared in some capacity, and the group's sonic signature was always evident. A wide, expansive sound that was instantly recognizable as their as their own, yet was adopted by all manners of bands, from guitar-worshipping metalheads to freaky, hippie, ambient, electronic duos. I think that was like pre-New Wave, right? They came out pre-New Wave.
Oh yeah.
They with their sound, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the New Wave bands were influenced by them, because they had similar sounding, similar sounding style to some New Wave bands. Unlike almost any of their peers, Pink Floyd played to both sides of the aisle. They were rooted in the blues, but their heart belonged to the future, a dichotomy that made them a quintessentially modern 20th century band. If you can get that paragraph, my friend.
Yeah, can you share that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Amateur night. There you go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That blues influence, quickly sublimated and only surfacing on the occasional Gilmour's guitar solo, was the foundation for the band's very name. As the group decided to splice the names of two old bluesmen, Pink Anderson and Floyd Council, as a tribute to the American music that they loved. These members of the early Floyd, guitarist singer Syd Barrett, bassist Roger Waters, keyboardist Rick Wright, and drummer Nick Mason, were all architecture students at London Polytechnic, with the exception of Barrett, who was an art student and a friend of Waters since childhood. This version of the band started gigging regularly in 1965, with Barrett becoming the group's lead singer quite quickly. During this time, the group relied on blues and R&B covers, not unlike many of their British peers, but they wound up extending the time of their sets through extended instrumental jams, planting the seeds of space rock that would come to fruition not much later. In 1966, the group's increasingly adventurous sets became something of a sensation in the London underground, leading to a contract with EMI early in 1967. Their first single, Arnold Lane, backed with Candy and a Currant Bun, appeared in March of 67, and it was banned from some radio stations due to its gender-bending lyrics. But nowadays it would be glorified.
Yeah.
But the single wound up in the UK Top 20, and the group's second single, See Emily Play, a menacing, mincing stomp with a profound, lasting influence, went into the top 10, paving the way for the release of The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. On their full-length LP, Pink Floyd veered towards the experimental and avant-garde, particularly on the elastic, largely instrumental vamps Astronomy, Domini, and Interstellar Overdrive, resulting in an album that had a significant influence not only upon its release, but well beyond. It was also a hit in the UK, reaching number 6 on the British charts.
This was a sudden rush to stardom, and complications arose nearly as quickly. Not long after the release of Piper, Barrett began showing clear signs of mental illness, to the point he would often freeze on stage, not playing a note. At this point, David Gilmour, a friend and associate of the band, was brought in as a second guitarist with the intention that he'd buttress the group's. Pardon me, man. I got gas in my stomach. Yeah, in my stomach. Live performances while Barrett continued to write and record new material. This soon proved to be an impossible situation, and Barrett left the group. I don't think he left the group. I think he just kind of faded away, because he was mentally unstable. At which point the band's management also jumped ship, leaving them without any kind of leader. In the wake of Barrett's departure, the remaining members of Pink Floyd developed a different musical identity, one that was expansive and eerie, characterized by the band's spacey, somber explorations and eventually waters-cutting, sardonic lyrics. This transition took some time. In 1968, they released A Saucerful of Secrets, which contained Barrett's final composition for the group, Jug Band Blues, and it found the group moving forward, particularly on the instrumental sections. A Saucerful of Secrets also saw the group begin a long, fruitful collaboration with Storm Thorgerson's design team Hypnosis. They'd wind up designing many iconic album covers for the band, including Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here. Hypnosis emphasized album art, and albums are where Pink Floyd concentrated from this point forward. After the soundtrack to More, the group moved to EMI's progressive rock imprint, Harvest, and became the label's flagship artist, beginning with the 69 double LP Uma Guma. Divided between live performances and experimental compositions from each member, the record wound up in the top 10 in Britain and sowed the seeds of a cult following in the United States.
Pink Floyd's next album, Adam Heartmother, featured extensive contributions from composer Ron Geeson and wound up as the band's first #1 album in the UK. The band embarked on an extensive supporting tour for the album, and when they returned, they delved even further into studio experimentation, learning the contours of the studio. Their next studio album, 71's Metal, bore the fruit of this labor, as did 72's Obscured by Clouds, which was effectively a soundtrack for Barbet Schroeder's film La Vallée. All the experiments of the early 70s were consolidated on their 1973 album, Dark Side of the Moon, an album for which there simply was no precedent in their catalog. Deepening their music while sharpening their songwriting, Floyd created a complex, luxurious album with infinite space and depth. Partially helped by the single Money, it was an immediate success, reaching #1 on the US Billboard charts and peaking at #2 in the UK. But what was striking was its longevity. The Dark Side of the Moon found space on the Billboard charts, and then it just stayed there, week after week for years. A total of 741
Whoa,
weeks.
wow, dude.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
741 weeks.
That was, I mean, it was a great album. It was a great album. You know, of course, I'm speaking in an art way. It was a great album, and the album cover was kind of cool too.
Yeah, the way it's all put together is pretty brilliant. And then once it finally dropped off the charts, Billboard began the catalog charts, where Dark Side was a fixture as well. Dark Side of the Moon was a staple on classic rock radio, but it was also a rite of passage, an album passed down to teenagers when they were turning to serious music. and it was an album that stayed with listeners as they aged. Now established superstars, Pink Floyd dug deep on Wish You Were Here, their 75 sequel to Dark Side of the Moon, the year I was born, which functioned as an album-long tribute to Syd Barrett. Compared to Dark Side, Wish You Were Here wasn't quite a blockbuster, but it was certainly a hit, debuting at #1 in the UK and reaching that peak in the US as well. Floyd continued to tour steadily, often working out new material on the road. This is particularly true of 77's Animals, which had its roots in several songs aired during the 75 tour. During the Animals tour, Roger Waters had a difficult experience with a Montreal crowd where he spit on a heckler.
What?
Ouch. And he used this incident as the genesis for his 79 rock opera, The Wall. Co-produced with Bob Ezrin, The Wall may be Floyd's most ambitious album, telling a semi-autobiographical story about a damaged rock star, and it's one of the band's most successful records, topping the chart through the 80s and turning into a pop music perennial along the lines of Dark Side. Part of its success in 1980 was due to Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, where an instrumental motif from the album was given a disco beat and an anti-authoritarian spin, leading to a genuine #1 hit single from the band. Certainly, the single had more to do with the album's success than the live production of the album. That is a trippy movie.
Oh, yes.
As Pink Floyd only did a handful of dates in major city. Nevertheless, these shows, consisting of a wall being built across the stage during the first act, and the band performing behind it during the second, they were legendary. And Waters would revive and update the production years later to great success.
All right. Pink Floyd did attempt to film The Wall for a documentary film, but the footage was botched, so they decided to pursue a feature film directed by Alan Parker and featuring Boomtown Rat Bob Geldof in the lead role. The Wall arrived in theaters in 1982 and turned into a midnight movie staple. A year later, the final cut, a further autobiographical work from Waters, its title a sly dig to his battles with Parker on the film, arrived, but it didn't come close to matching the chart success of any of its predecessors. Behind the scenes, things were tense. Rick Wright had been fired during the making of The Wall. He was hired as a contract player during the recording and tour, and Waters split after the release of the final cut. Assuming that it was the end of the band, Waters released his debut solo album, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, a piece that was pitched to Floyd in 1978, but the band chose The Wall instead. In 1984, and not long afterward, Gilmour and Mason indicated they intended to carry on as Pink Floyd. So the bassist sued the duo. Wow, they're typical band stuff, right? Especially with good bands. So the bassist sued the duo for the rights to the name, or to the Pink Floyd name. Waters lost, and Pink Floyd released a monetary lapse of Reason in 1987. Just months after Waters released his own radio KAOS. Bad blood was evident. T-shirts on Waters' tour bore the question, which one's pink? An old lyric that now had greater resonance. But Pink Floyd emerged victorious as a monetary lapse of Reason turned into an international hit and racked up some hit singles, including Learning to Fly. I like that song, dude. Which was supported by the band's first music video. Most importantly, the band racked up significant box office returns on tour, playing to sold-out stadiums across the globe. This tour was documented on the Delicate Sound of Thunder live album. The success of a momentary lapse of reason allowed Pink Floyd to dictate their own schedule, and they took their time to return with a new album, eventually emerging in 1994 with The Division Bell. Greeted by warmer reviews than its predecessor, The Division Bell was another international success, and the accompanying tour, which featured a performance of the entirety of The Dark Side of the Moon, was a smash success. As before, the tour was documented with a live album. This one was called Pulse, packaged in eye-catching artwork with a pulsing LED light, and it performed respectably. After that, Pink Floyd went into effective retirement. The group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996, while Gilmour released some solo albums, including the acclaimed On an Island, but most of their efforts were devoted to managing their catalog. Long a beloved band of audiophiles, Floyd saw their catalog boxed and remastered several times, including 5.1 mixes on SACD in the early 2000s.
Yeah, Momentary Lapse of Reason was a really awesome album. I don't know about this whole On an Island. The title to that does not gel with me that well.
Well, wasn't that
Ever since I know what happens on islands, I'm like, really? On an island?
that was Gilmour's solo album, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder what he was doing.
Well, okay. Before you start that paragraph right there, I did remember what I was going to say earlier when you said
cool.
not all artists are part of this whole thing, but I will say that every artist that's gone far in the industry that have signed up with record companies, well, let's just say that I think I'm pretty sure that they're involved in some really hinky stuff. Let's just
for
say,
sure.
yeah, let's just say
Once
that.
you go past a certain level, if you're going to get in the industry with the industry leaders, then that is what's required. But I think that they profile the certain personalities of musicians too. In order, they figure out certain people that they know that they can be a handler of and turn them into stars, but by making them do all this other stuff, like they know the psychological makeup of who they're trying to get in there.
I agree. You know who's a good one that they picked was Lady Gaga is a good one. She's very charismatic, you know.
Yep.
At least with her following, she's very, very. I mean, with people like us, I mean, we already know what she's all about, but with the people who don't know, she's very charismatic. Jay-Z was Jay-Z's a very charismatic one with hip hop, you know.
Yep. And both of them are in it deep.
Very deep. Yep.
I mean, once you start taking pictures with Mariana Abramovich,
yeah,
and it's like, okay, we know where you are now.
Yep.
No questions this time. But yeah, that's true. They were definitely deep up in it.
Yep.
All right, here we go. As the new millennium progressed, détente arose between the Floyd and Waters camps. Figures. Culminating in an unexpected reunion of the original lineup of Waters, Gilmour, Mason, and Wright at the 2005 charity concert Live 8. The reunion was a rousing success, sparking rumors of a more permanent arrangement, but Gilmour declined. Instead, Waters ramped up his touring. He performed Dark Side in its entirety and then turned his attention to The Wall, touring that for years. So he's riding on past success.
Huh.
Gilmour and Mason wound up appearing at a 2011 show in London, signaling that there was no ill will between the members. Barrett passed in 2006 from cancer, In 2008, Wright also died from cancer. Wow, Barrett was just mental for like 3 decades, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. In 2011, Pink Floyd launched an ambitious reissue project called Why Pink Floyd.
Recycling stuff, man.
Like, it's kind of like remaking a movie.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because they're great. I mean, despite the fact that they've been changing band members, it's a very great, it's a good band. It's a good band, artistically speaking, they're a very good band.
Oh, yeah. Artistically speaking, they're very innovative. They were one of the first bands to utilize Moog and all the Moog synthesizers. They almost like test ran a lot of that gear. Like they were like, it was brand new stuff, and they spent weeks in the studio messing around with sounds and stuff. All right, so spearheaded by multi-disc, rarity-laden box set reissues of Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall.
Wait, we were just talking about box sets last week too, huh?
Yep. Newly released exclusives included the original Alan Parsons mix of Dark Side, heavily bootlegged live tracks like Raving and Drooling, and demos. That's interesting. 3 years later, in 2014, the Division Bell was reissued yet again to celebrate 20th anniversary. But the bigger news was the announcement of a new album called The Endless River, constructed using outtakes from the recording sessions for Division Bell. The primarily instrumental album was co-produced by Gilmour, Roxy Music's Phil Manzanera, Youth, and Andy Jackson, and featured heavy contributions from the late keyboardist Rick Wright, along with New York. Oh, they didn't capitalize that. Oh, new work from Gilmour and Mason. The Endless River arrived in November 2014. 2 years later, Pink Floyd released the Mammoth box set yet again. The early years, 65 to 72, which combined 28 CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays to tell a complete audio and visual picture of the band's first act. 6 of the box's 7 volumes were issued individually in March 2017. Released alongside the box was the early years 67 to 72 Cree/Asian, a double disc compilation of highlights from the set. Then the later years, 87 to 2019. Really?
So that's a big gap, dude.
They skipped 72 to 87. A luxurious single to the early years, chronicling the post-Waters era. Arrived in 2019, accompanied by a single disc collection of highlights from the big box.
In April of 2022, Gilmour and Mason released the first new Pink Floyd track since 1994. Hey, Hey, Rise Up. The song was a show of support for Ukraine.
Oh, great.
I guess they've become political, man. During the ongoing Russian invasion, and included a sample of Andriy Klivynyuk, I hope I said that right, of the Ukrainian band Boombox, singing part of the 1914 Ukrainian anthem, "Oh, the Red Viburnum in the Meadow." The track debuted in the top 50 of the Billboard charts upon its release. I guess that's the article right there.
Viburnum is a flower, I do believe.
Oh, is that what that is?
Red viburnum is a flower.
Is that only found in Ukraine or something like that, or?
It's probably widely probably grows there.
Interesting. Okay.
So
okay.
Gilmore's son actually lives here, I think, or somewhere near here.
Are you serious? In
Yep.
Austin?
hmm
Interesting.
He's like a keyboard player.
Huh. Is he any good?
I think he's just trying. He's trying to sound like his dad.
Man, he has to make his own sound, dude.
That's the thing.
He has to make his own sound. All right. Let me this is what I found before we go into the lyrics. There is something that I found and I'm going to share that with everybody here. Let me share that with you as well. And it's about the song.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's about the song. Let me know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll start off with the first two paragraphs, and then we'll switch off. So here's a little fun fact about the song that we're reviewing today, which is called "Have a Cigar." This comes from songfacts.com. Who's it written by? Doesn't even say.
Yeah, by one of them, or by, I don't know if they have a designated lyricist or not.
I know Waters was writing. Actually, I think he did write this song. I was looking it up, and Roger Waters was the one who wrote the song. So, song facts here about the song that we're reviewing today. Much like Welcome to the Machine, this song is about corporations and how they control their musicians. The line, we call it riding the gravy train, is held for such a long time to emphasize the fact that these companies will go as long as possible to squeeze every last cent out of their clients. The lead vocal is by folk singer Roy Harper. Roger Waters' voice was shot from recording Shine on You Crazy Diamond, and David Gilmour did not want to sing this. So they asked their friend Harper, who was recording down the hall, to help them out. Gilmour recalled to Mojo magazine in October 2011, Roger had to go at singing it, and one or two people were unkind about his singing. One or two people then asked me to have a go at it. I did, but I wasn't comfortable. I had nothing against the lyrics. Maybe the rage and intensity wasn't right for my voice. I can distinctly remember Roy leaning on the wall outside Abbey Road. Did I say that right?
They spelled it wrong. It's probably supposed to be road.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Abbey Road. While we were nadering away and go on, let me have a go, let me have a go. We all went, shut up, Roy, but eventually we said, go on then, Roy. Have your bloody go. Most of us enjoy his version. That's a horrible British accent. Though I don't think Roger ever liked it. All right.
Harper is the subject of the 1970 Led Zeppelin song Hats Off to Roy Harper. He was good friends with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Have a Cigar is a parody of a record company executive. Pink Floyd hated the record industry. They wrote this all lame. Pink Floyd hated the record industry and was especially peeved when their label, I don't know, it's all blocked. Their label kept bugging them for a huge follow-up to their Dark Side of the Moon album. Roger Waters wrote the lyrics, which contain every cliche he can think of that the record company executives used on new bands. You're going to go far. I'll tell you the name of the game. You're going to make it. One of the lyrics is, by the way, which one's pink? That is a question many people in the music industry ask the band over the years.
because they broke up, right?
Well, because their band's name's Pink Floyd, so they're like, which one of you guys is Pink?
Oh, got it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. This was one of the last songs added to the album. The song is represented on the back cover of an image of a salesman standing in a desert offering Pink Floyd's album. The salesman had no body or soul, which is how they felt about their record company. Is that really how they felt about it? Is that really how they felt? There is a faceless man on the back cover of the album. This is probably Pink Floyd's way of telling us they would lose face with a follow-up to the highly successful Dark Side of the Moon. Wish You Were Here didn't sell nearly as many copies. In the US, it was released as a single, but it did not chart. Go ahead and top it off.
In 2000, Queen guitarist Brian May, who's also a astrophysicist and works with NASA.
Really?
Yep. The Queen guitarist Brian May
Oh, wow.
teamed up with the Foo Fighters to record a new version of this for the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. And Dave Grohl, we'll get to him on another episode.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Said he picked this song to cover because it's the most punk rock thing Pink Floyd ever did. Foo drummer Taylor Hawkins sang lead vocals and Grohl played drums. Taylor sang because Dave kept forgetting the lyrics during the recording session. Figures. And then Primus covered this on their 1992 EP, Miscellaneous Debris. Primus are huge Pink Floyd fans.
There's only one song I like from Primus.
I like him. I mean, because he's a bass player.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I like his bass.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So that's a little, I guess, song fact about the song that we're going to be reviewing today. Let me see. I think there was something else also I kind of want to share. I mean, this is not about the song, but it's more about the band than the song.
Yeah.
And it's something that I found, and it also pertains to the other song that I was talking about, which is probably very telling about what Pink Floyd's about. I mean, I think they're self-proclaimed atheists. I think they are. I have a feeling they are. But here's a little something that I found. Let me share it with you. All right. I was able to find this on a site called... Man, I can't see because the thing's blocking my way.
JesusIsSavior.com?
Yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. Okay. This is pretty much going down the lyrics of the other song I was talking about. But let me go scroll down here. There's some of the artwork. I mean, it's obvious, right? The triangle. The all-seeing eye. I think we know all about that, right? All right. Here. So let me just start from this paragraph here. It goes, what does it all mean? First, know that Satan is the god of this evil world. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 4. Second, Satan as a god desires worship from humanity. They're probably talking about the song and also some of the artwork that's dealing with the album covers. This is clearly evidenced in Revelation 13:15, when the Antichrist will kill anyone who refuses to worship his image. We see this same situation. Oh, it's okay. This is in reference to the song, not Have a Cigar, but the other song, which, dude, it's creepy. The other song is very creepy.
Sheep?
Yeah. Did you take a look at that song also?
No, I just saw it as you were scrolling.
Oh yeah, that song is creepy, dude. We see the same situation in the Old Testament when wicked King Nebuchadnezzar made a bigger than life golden image and killed anyone who refused to worship it. Daniel chapter 3 verses 5 through 7. Times haven't changed. Satan is still the same lying monster today as he was thousands of years ago. Let me just blow this up a little bit. It is no coincidence that the latest electronics technology, Blu-ray, is becoming so popular. This was probably written a few years ago. I personally believe that this technology will be critically important to the beast system of the coming Antichrist. Well, dude, it's probably more advanced now. So yeah, this is I think this is a pretty old article. Revelation 13:15 speaks of the image of the beast that all the world will be required to worship or be killed. I think this clearly refers to some type of interactive television. In December 2008, Pioneer Corporation unveiled a 400 gigabyte Blu-ray disc containing 16 data layers, 25 gigabytes each, that will be compatible with current players after a firmware update. Dude, we're past this already. As far as technology goes, we're way past this technology. It's planned
like 14 years.
Yeah, it's this is kind of old. Its planned launch is in the 2009, 2009 2010. Yeah, we're way past that time frame for ROM. That television prices. Am I on the right? Yeah. This doesn't have anything to do with. This is just the old technology.
This person is just ranting.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
They're basically thinking that system. Well, we've seen a lot of other systems that are closer towards this. The whole beast thing.
Oh man,
like
dude,
injecting the stuff's underneath the skin. You know, like they want to do that with the ID and all that stuff.
Well,
There's a lot further, way further along than
way further
Blu-ray.
Well, and just recently, I think they're talking about digital currency for for this country.
Next month, actually, in a few weeks.
Jeez, are you serious?
Yeah,
that close already?
I've been telling everybody about this for like 6 months. That's the plan. They're planning on at least trying to roll it out. Yeah, in December. That's the lyrics right there.
Yeah, this is the lyrics to Sheep. But this is not the song that we're reviewing today. What we're reviewing is Have a Cigar. But we'll play this one too afterwards, just so people get an idea, like what these dudes are kind of into. And I'll probably share this too before we play the second song, Sheep.
Is that from the album Animals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. They don't have the album cover to this one. Anyhow, yeah, it looks like the article didn't have anything to do with anything there. He was just kind of
going on a tangent.
Yeah. So we'll stop sharing that. We'll go back here to our mugs. Well, your mug at least. All right. So, oh no, we didn't do the lyrics, huh? We got to do the lyrics.
Yep.
Man, I'm messing up today.
Have a Cigar lyrics. And I think this goes deeper than just the record industry. That's why I picked this song.
Oh, I would think so too. I think that's what they want people to think.
And it definitely does happen. This is definitely the modus operandi for the industry, definitely. But I think there's an extra deeper layer on top of this.
Let me share screen with you. All right. So we are here at genius.com for the lyrics. Have a Cigar. I'll let you start it off and I'll do the second verse.
All right. It says, come in here, dear boy. Have a cigar. You're gonna go far. You're going to fly high. You're never going to die.
Hmm.
See? And you're going to make it if you try. They're going to love you. Well, I've always had a deep respect, and I mean that most sincerely. The band is just fantastic. That's really what I think. Oh, by the way, which one's pink? Totally trying to tell people like what they want them to, what they think they want to hear.
Yeah.
Very disingenuous. And did we tell you the name of the game, boy? We call it Riding the Gravy Train.
We're just knocked out. We heard about the sellout. You got to get an album out. You owe it to the people. I think when they're saying you owe it, like that's what you freaking signed to do. Right?
Right. Yep.
You signed to do this work. So you owe us, not to the people, but to us or to me. Not me, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm referencing here.
Yep.
We're so happy we can hardly count. Everybody else is just green. Have you seen the chart? It's a hell of a start. It could be made into a monster if we all put together as a team. What? What? And did we tell you the name of the Game Boy? We call it Riding the Gravy Train. That's it, huh?
Yep. But there's a lot just in that. Right there. You know?
This is crazy, dude. Oh my goodness.
It's like totally tempting somebody, you know, it's totally can be seen as also like a you know, another example of are you going to give up your soul for this?
You know how it's funny how this all builds up in the first verse and then on the second verse it just comes out. It's like this is what the plan is.
Yep.
Riding the gravy train, huh?
And then you know, and you can tell it's like total lies. They're like just saying exactly like what the person like. They're not very successful with their convincingness. Like you could tell they don't actually believe anything that they're saying to the band. They're just trying to convince them to. You know, this just reminded me of a whole like other contract. You know, it's like if you're selling more than just like you know, basically selling your soul in order to be able to be successful in music.
I mean, if you want to go far, that's something that you definitely have to do. You know, there's a reason why there's a lot of one-hit wonders, dude. I think with a lot, you know, with these one-hit wonders, and don't get me wrong, because a lot of them have great talent. It's like I don't understand why they just made one song and just disappeared. Well, there's probably a good reason why. Is because they didn't want to cross that line. You know.
Exactly. See that like this whole thing, you're never gonna die.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, think about it. Look at the Rolling Stones, man. Still alive, dude.
Adrenochrome, anyone?
So there's a little bit about here on, I guess this is for the song. It says here, the third track of Pink Floyd's 1975 album, Wish You Were Here, written by bassist and singer Roger Waters. See, I told you. Have a Cigar is the band's satirical assault on greasy music industry A&R types. People who love money and want to turn great songs into monsters. No. No.
That's not what
No,
it's
no,
talking
no,
about.
no, 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 no. No, that's no. This is the only track in the album with a guest lead singer, Roy Harper. For Waters and David Gilmour couldn't agree on which version sounded better, a solo of each or a duet. So the band went after Harper as he recorded in Abbey Road. Artist and repertoire in our people, the division of a record label or music publishing company that is responsible for talent scouting and overseeing the artistic development of recording artists and songwriters. Let's take a look at that second verse again, man. Because because they're saying that, what were they implying here? It says that people who love money and want to turn great songs into monsters? No, I don't think so. That's not what it's implying in this lyric right here, right?
Exactly.
Let's just see. I'm going to start from the beginning on verse 2. We're just knocked out. We heard about the sellout.
And see, that one, it's a double entendre, I think, because it's like, on the surface, they want to make one think that it's talking about selling out a show.
No, I know what
selling
that
out
means.
the albums, but it's really about
Selling your soul
themselves,
out.
their soul.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Taking that big leap for their career to be pushed through the roof. You got to get an album out. You're so right about the double entendres, because the first sentence tells them what they got to do, and then on the second one it tells us that you owe it. That's the key right there, man. There's the sell out. That's the key words right there. You owe it. That's the key words right there. We're so happy we can hardly count. Everybody else is just green. Have you seen the chart? It's a hell of a start. It could be made into a monster. Man. If we all put together as a team. Yeah.
And seeing it's a selling, they're trying to make it a selling point that everyone is envious. Green with envy.
Yes. Now that you mentioned it, yeah, I do see that.
It's like they're trying to feed the person's ego about it, but
this is interesting with the whole songwriting part of it, because being that we know stuff about the music industry and what it's pretty much all about, we can see like what writers are actually writing about. Because if I didn't know anything about anything, or if I wasn't a so-called quote conspiracy theorist kind of person, like I would definitely think that they were talking about the music industry and how they mistreat the artist. I would definitely buy that. I would definitely buy that theory, but I think there's a lot of double speak in a lot of these lyrics for sure. All right. So, shall we go ahead and start sharing the video here?
Sure.
Okay. So, for those of you on YouTube, I got to kill the YouTube stream only because I got to play this stupid game. I'll get a strike, and I already got a strike. I already got one strike on YouTube. So I don't want to make that 2 strikes. So what I'll do here, if you're watching on YouTube, and I think I have I think I have somewhat of a crowd there, just some very small crowd. I will put my Twitch link for those of you who want to continue on to watch. And I'll also put my Pilled or Foxhole link. Give me a minute here. You don't have to pay anything. It's totally free to just come by and check out the rest of the show. If you're on the YouTube part of things, But I really appreciate you hanging out here. Before I kill the YouTube part of the stream, do you wanna go ahead and kind of tell everybody a little bit about what you do, Java, as far as like your show and stuff? Like, you want to get that promoted out there?
Oh, while you're on, okay. Well, I do this show and channel under Java is the actual channel name over here on the Foxhole and Pill.net. And it is kind of a variety show just to release stress and pressure that we've built up dealing with all this stuff on a daily. You know, it's quite the crazy battle going on. So it's great to be able to just take time to unwind. We look at some art. We have animal of the day, some music, some comedy, a cartoon, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a variety. And it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights at like a midnight Central Time.
Cool. How about your podcast, your recorded podcast?
You can check out my audio podcast, 4 minutes and 20 seconds at Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean. That's my favorite. Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and TuneIn Radio. It's a very short, and it's just some characters, and I talk about a bunch of random stuff, and it's comedy, and I have a good time. So I think you would like it. A little short break from the day, 5 minutes or less.
Yup, man. We all need that from time to time, especially if you're inundating yourself, whether with politics stuff or even with spiritual stuff. Sometimes we need a break, you know. You can't get all consumed because there's no balance there. You got to have a little bit of a balance too. So I want to thank you people who are in YouTube land. Thank you so much for coming by. And I'll be open again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central Time for my journey with Yah. Hope you guys out in the YouTube lands can check me out. Yeah, and that's all I got for now. So I guess I will see you when I see you, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. Good night, and God bless.